the best price is the equilibrium price. If I uh, charge too much, right? Uh, what ends up happening? If I charge too much, not many people are buying, right? So if I well, actually, let's take this more from the perspective of supply. If I supply, so we'll look at the supply line for now. Uh, get my little arrow. So here's the supply line. If I'm only supplying 25 cars, right? That's down here, but the demand is up here. Okay, so what ends up happening there? If I'm only supplying this much and people are demanding this much, I got an empty parking lot with a whole bunch of people waiting in line for cars. So picture it like a vending machine, right? I guess that's a vending machine with the stuff in it. You pay there. So there's no more Coke left because there was only a small amount, but now you got a long line of people waiting for the Coke. That's basically what I'm saying with that. So hopefully you got that. Now, why wouldn't we supply even more? Well, if we supply more, we end up making a surplus, right? And so if I'm supplying um, 100 cars at the price of $12, well, that's really expensive for a lot of people. And of course, we can assume that's $12,000, but let's just say that's 12 bucks is expensive to buy a car, so less people want it. So you basically have a full parking lot of people. You have a full parking lot of cars, but no one's buying it. Alright, so hope you got that. So here's my official little answer. Because if I supply more, I'll make a surplus, the equilibrium point, and if I supply less, I'm not making as much money as I could be making. Alright, so now let's go to letter D. If you decide to charge a price of $12,000 per unit, okay, yeah, 12,000. It's referring to that right there. Will you have an excess supply or an excess demand? How much is the excess? With the result, okay, so let's answer the first question. Will you have an excess supply or excess demand? So let's highlight this, and we don't even have to look at the graph, just look at the table. So the demand is 10 units, but I'm supplying 100 units. So obviously I'm supplying I have an excess supply because I'm supplying more than people are demanding. So excess supply is the answer there. Now, how much is the excess? Well, we remember here is the equilibrium point, right? And that's where we're supposed to be having our price. That's basically where the business and the people are happy. I'm not providing too much, I'm not providing less, I'm providing just right. So, basically, if we were to judge this in terms of price, so let me take out my pen here. What I'm charging here is $12, but what people want is to be charged $6 because that's the equilibrium. So I just subtract it, and what I get is 6. So it's $6 over. Okay, that's how much the excess is. You know, don't get I hope you're not too fiddled with the math, but that's basically the idea. $6, and of course we know that that 6 times 2 is 12, so really it's double. So that's actually how I would answer it, and if you want, I'll break that down more. Okay, so that's how I would answer it. Excess supply, $6 double. And oh, there was the last question I forgot. With this result, will your car lot be empty or full most of the time? So that's not hard to understand. I have 100 cars in my parking lot, and only 10 people buy them, so it's full most of the time. I got 90 cars like just sitting there. All right. Now we are on question number 2. Let's say that the following event happens in the order given. Do not worry about the specific prices and quantities. Just show the shift. Alright, so A. You are on top of things and you have found a much better way of producing cars. Illustrate what happens, supply and demand curves. Okay, so that's an advancement of technology. I'm just going to put AT. So an advancement of technology means supply goes up. So remember, you just have to sort of memorize that, and it sort of makes sense when you think about it. If you can produce more cars with, I don't know, just faster, you will. So it's just better. So remember, supply goes up. So remember that the blue line is the quantity supplied, so this blue line shifts. So I'm just going to redraw it over here and make believe this new black line is blue. So now let's look at what happened to the price. And we don't really need to get into it that far according to this point, but we'll have to get into it in B anyway, so we might as well do it now. So here's price 1 and here's price 2. So the price went down. Now remember, here's the equilibrium point, right? Let me highlight it. And now we have a new equilibrium point down here. So it went there. It moved towards the right, basically. Right? Here it is. So now we know that the quantity, this went from Q1 to Q2. So Q2's over here. I'm sorry, just has to move that. So there we go. So the quantity went up. So quantity equilibrium went up, alright, or to the right if you want to call it that, but we understand that as up, and the equilibrium price went down. And we also have to remember that since the demand line didn't change at all, nothing happens to demand. See, demand only changes when the demand line actually shifts. So demand, nothing changes. So we have that. Now and do I, okay, so now we're on part B. Assume A happens. In the new equilibrium, price and Q, are they higher or lower than before? So we have that here. So Q, we know, is higher. So high. And we know the price, of course, went down. We saw it. So low. Okay, so that's B answered. Okay, letter C. Hurricane Jeff has devastated the area. Cars are not really a necessity after a hurricane, especially a devastating one like Jeff. People will be more willing to use the money for, say, food and shelter. Illustrate what will happen to your supply and demand curve now. Use the same graph. Okay, so he tells us to use the same graph. So I'm not going to bother drawing a new one. So here, basically what happened? Hurricane came, so demand went down. So that's what we have to remember.